I need to use a microphone, don't I? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Would you like me to share with you a technique that you can use to generate ideas systematically, reliably, on demand, in real time for the rest of your lives? That was almost enthusiastic. Shall we try that again? Would you like me to share such an idea with you? There we go. Okay, well, that's exactly what I'm proposing to do. But let's just get some context to this. Everyone here knows about the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals. You probably also know about the product life cycle, which is that almost every product we've ever invented becomes obsolete. Every product, every system, every process. And one of the reasons we are where we are today is because our approach to energy creation has been damaging the environment. We didn't know it 120 years ago. We've known it for about 120 years. We're only just getting to the point that collectively we're taking action. So we're at the end of the product life cycle when it comes to our current means of producing energy and managing the planet. So we need to move on to create something else. We know that this is what happens when organisations do not innovate. When they don't come up with ideas, it's generally game over. That's also the case for societies. When societies have systems and processes and procedures that damage them and they don't come up with new and better systems, it's game over. Now, I'm not suggesting we're going to wipe out the human race, but we are going to do ourselves a lot of damage unless we change the way we go about things. This is a list of some of the companies that I approached with this understanding here. So I gave them this offer. Would you like a system to generate ideas to keep your company alive for the foreseeable future? And all of those companies have one thing in common. In fact, they have two things in common. Yes, those of you who are British-based or close enough to the UK to be familiar with those names know that every single one of those companies is no more. And the other thing that they have in common is every single one of those companies, when I first started seeing that they had problems, I pitched this system to them to help them generate ideas to survive, and they declined the offer. Well, their choice, not mine. Here's some of the companies I have helped to generate ideas and systems to come up with better ideas so that they can lead the marketplace. And you probably know that they are all generally thriving companies. Okay, so here's some of the books I've published over the years. That's probably of little interest to you. The ones that will be of interest, this one's called Opportunity Spotting, and this is the second updated edition of Opportunity Spotting, and this is a more contemporary version of the same book. The reason I'm sharing that with you is I'm going to give you the key technique from this last book, and hopefully you can use this technique to generate ideas to help us achieve net zero. Are we all up for achieving net zero? Yeah. Absolutely. Do you want to do it today, or would you like to do it yesterday? Yesterday would be better, wouldn't it? Yes. We wouldn't be where we are if we'd done it yesterday, would we? Okay, so how do we generate ideas? Well, let's actually do it. Let's actually generate some ideas right here, right now. I'm going to ask somebody on this side of the room to give me a high-tech domestic product from the kitchen. So imagine your house, or imagine anybody's house. Give me the name of a high-tech domestic product from the kitchen. Anyone, doesn't matter.
Fridge.
Fridge, right, that will do. And someone from this side of the room, can you give me a high-tech domestic product from any other part of the house? Microwave, right. Let's try and do that. So I'm going to ask you a question, and when you have some ideas, just shout them out. Yeah, at the top of your voice, because although you can hear me, I might not be able to hear you. Was it microwave, you said? Yeah, it was microwave. Yeah. Okay, right. What benefit could we provide if we could combine the benefits of a fridge with the benefits of a microwave? What benefit could we provide if we could combine the benefits of a fridge with the benefits of a microwave?
Instant cooling.
Instant cooling! Wow, yes, that would be rather good. If only microwaves worked in reverse, we could do exactly that. But the principle is what we've come up with. So the idea here is how could we create instant cooling? Now, if we can do that in the same way that a microwave can create instant heating, we've got something really, really valuable. Let's ask the question the other way around. What benefit could we provide if we could combine the benefits of a microwave with a fridge? So I'm swapping it.
From the freezer directly to the oven.
From the freezer directly to the oven, absolutely. So you could have it in the fridge, freezer, and maybe when you're on your mobile phone, on your way home from work, you could send a signal to say, cook, and it cooks. And by the time you walk through the door, you've got a meal ready for you, sitting ready, waiting. Okay, how long did that take us to come up with those two ideas? Less than a minute, yeah? Okay, so are you convinced that we've got a technique here that you can use to generate ideas? Yeah? I'm not getting much of a response there. Are you convinced we've got a technique we can use to generate ideas? Yeah. Yes, okay. Would you like to know how that technique works? So that you can replicate it for yourselves? Would that be a useful tool? Okay, right, so let me show you how it works. It's not that complicated, you know, it's not some multi-dimensional Rubik's Cube that nobody's ever going to solve. It's actually a series of simple steps. To be specific, 3 simple steps. And when you hear how simple they are, you'll think, why didn't I think of that? Well, you could have if you'd spent years doing a PhD in the subject, as I did, but that's another story for another day. Okay, so, first step is choose a direction. In what direction did we choose to look for ideas when we did this little experiment? I told you what the direction was, but I didn't say so explicitly. The direction was high-tech domestic products. Now, we could quite easily have chosen aviation instrumentation, or we could have chosen sewage processing. Those are 3 directions that I've just given you. Yeah? So the technique to generate ideas is you first of all got to start looking in a particular direction and to define the direction in such a way that it makes sense to you. Now, that's the part that takes the skill, is defining the direction in a way that makes it possible to generate ideas. And with only 10 minutes to do this, I'm afraid I don't have time to go into the specifics of how to create an appropriate direction. The next thing we did was we used a method or a strategy. And the one we chose was combining technologies. We took 2 technologies, fridge, microwave, and we combined them. There are literally hundreds, if not thousands of those techniques, and I've either collated, created or documented many hundreds, which are in the books that I was referring to earlier. So first stage, choose a direction. Second stage, choose a method or a strategy, and the one we chose was called combining technologies, as illustrated in the 2 hands on the top left-hand side of the picture. There's some others that are illustrated there as well. We don't need to go through the names, you just need to know that there are hundreds and hundreds of those techniques that are available. And what did we do as the third stage? What was the third thing we did that then triggered you to come up with the ideas?
Question.
Exactly. We posed a question. But it wasn't just a random question. It was a particular type of question. It was an empowering question. A question that's phrased in a particular way that enables you to generate ideas. So we can all ask questions, but if we ask the wrong type of question, rather than generating ideas, we'll actually shut down creative thinking. So there are specific techniques that you can use to pick people's brains, as it were. There's certain phrasing structures that you can use to generate ideas. And an example was the one I used, which was, what benefit could we provide if we could combine the benefits of the fridge and the microwave. That's an example of one structure. Now there are many, many hundreds of structures, and if you've learned how to ask the right types of question, you can literally generate ideas all day. And when I say that, I'm really not exaggerating. When I did the contract for British Airways way back in the mid-90s, for those of you who are less than 25, the 90s was the last millennium. And we pulled together a group of 200 people in British Airways and broke them up into groups. And we gave each group a series of directions and strategies and empowering questions. And they generated literally thousands of ideas. thousands. And that created all sorts of world firsts, which kept British Airways going for a very, very long time. And in fact, many of the ideas that were generated using this technique have spread right across the world. And I'm pretty sure if I listed them, you would have used them as well, but I'm not going to go into that. Okay, so this is the diagram, the illustration of the technique. First of all, choose a direction, then choose a method, then ask the empowering questions, and once you've done that, you'll literally be able to generate hundreds of ideas a day. In fact, in a typical workshop of the kind that I run, I can get the business board, if it's just the board or the senior management team, to generate more ideas in a day than their entire product development department can do anything with for a year. In other words, do this once a year and you'll have enough ideas to keep you going for a very, very long time indeed. Okay, so that's what we can do. We're trying to reach net zero. So you've got a technique now that you can use to generate ideas systematically, reliably, in real time, on demand. That means you can generate ideas to help us reach net zero. And I'm guessing that everybody is here because we all want to come up with ideas to generate, to reach net zero. Some of you may be thinking about funding. You know, yeah, it's all very well coming up with an idea, Nigel, but you know, where am I going to get the funding? Let me just share with you that there are so many sovereign wealth funds and venture capital funds around the world that right now are sitting on vast amounts of money that they cannot find projects for. Are you hearing what I'm saying here? I'm saying there is no shortage of money. What there is a shortage of is good ideas and good people to implement those ideas. And I hope we've got a room full of people who can generate the kinds of ideas that can hopefully do something great for the planet in the future. Okay, so you can use this technique to help you achieve any of the systems that we're looking at there. It's like a machine. Once you get going, you can just generate idea after idea after idea after idea. You can literally keep going for as long as you want. All right, I think that's probably the point at which I should ask Stefano to take the chair and pose any questions, if you have time.
Exactly. If you, thank you very much, Nigel. First of all, thank you. The presentation was very involving, so I'm sure you've got some questions for Nigel to answer.
Who's going to do the microphone? Oh, there we go. Addy's got it. Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
I've tried similar technique with my team, but usually there's like a blank face across the room and no one wants to take part because they're ashamed, don't want to share their ideas or anything like this. So any tips when you ask the question and there's literally no answers and everyone's waiting for someone else to speak up, what do we do?
Absolutely. The first thing I do when I'm running these workshops is create a safe space. And we talk about the ground rules. And I give them an example of me generating stupid ideas, you know, crazy ideas. And that makes them feel safe. Oh, it's okay to make silly suggestions. And then I get them to laugh at me making silly ideas. And once people start to feel relaxed and disinhibited, you know, the inhibition disappears. They generally open up a little bit. So if the leader can make people feel that it's okay to come up with silly ideas and indeed to do something constructive with the silly ideas, it takes time to learn how to do that, by the way. To make people feel like a child again, it's not an easy thing to do, but it can be done. Okay. I'm not in charge of the microphones there.
I think that your example with a microwave and a refrigerator is not good, because microwave has a microwave discharge which is created in hollow resonator, and this heat is then given to the food inside by resonance effect. There is no waste heat. When you have no waste heat, you cannot use some absorption system to convert this waste heat to cool.
Thank you for your question. Appreciate that. What I'd like to do is link that question to the previous question. Okay. One of the rules, ground rules, that you have to set in order to make a creative session work is there is no criticism, no evaluation, no judgment at the point of generating ideas. And if you do criticize, judge, or evaluate when you're generating ideas, it shuts everybody down in record time. So what we've just seen, I'm afraid, is a wonderful example of how to not generate ideas. Okay.
Thanks, that's a great presentation. My question is, having generated these hundreds or thousands of ideas, do you have techniques for prioritising them and deciding what to do first?
Yes, you're right on the money there. So that then becomes a problem, but it's a first world problem. Imagine you've got 1,000 ideas and you've only got 50 staff. How on earth do you process it? Yeah, it's a major problem. The stage after that is to enhance the ideas. So most of the ideas, when you first generate them, they're in a very raw state. That they're not ready for proper market evaluation. So the idea is to enhance the ideas until they're at the level for market evaluation, or until you've extracted the kernel, the core of the idea, but you can't actually do anything with the whole idea, but there's an element in there that you can do something with. So the way you process the ideas after you've generated them is just as important. In fact, I would probably argue more important than the idea generation process itself. So well done, yes, absolutely right.
Hi, great talk. What are the top 3 ideas you've ever had? And also, it's one of the best idea processes. I think my father went on a course similar to maybe you taught it, but to come up with extreme examples. Then, okay, like what's your favourite career? Want to be a rock star? What would be the worst career? Maybe like emptying toilets. And then actually, based on those characteristics, be like, okay, well, something in the middle. Maybe you want to be a teacher. You like being on stage, do his music. You wouldn't want to work in cleaning. Anyway, the extreme examples method. What do you think of that as well?
Well, my best ever idea was to wake up breathing this morning. I find that and I try to have that idea every morning. It's generally a good philosophy. My second best idea was to take self-responsibility for my own development, and I'm sure that's the case for everybody else in this room. And my third best idea is to assume that other people are on the same learning journey as I am, and that their learning journey is difficult, and to try and understand that they might not be in the same place I am, and therefore can't understand what I'm saying. But talking about the extremes, when people come up with extreme ideas, the point I was making earlier on is you can very quickly want to dismiss them out of hand. But actually, if someone's coming up with an extreme idea, there's probably something really, really useful in there. For instance, the history of the development of the Polaroid camera with Edwin Land. His daughter, after he'd taken a photograph of his daughter, said, "Daddy, why do we have to wait 2 weeks to get the film back from the chemist?" Well, that's a pretty extreme idea, thinking it was back in the 1940s, 50s when that question was asked. And within a few short years, he had developed Polaroid camera. Of course, we don't need that technology anymore. But that's an example of an extreme idea having a kernel of truth in it. When you take that and you turn it into something useful, you can totally change an industry, as indeed Edwin Land did.
If there's not, what are the top 3 ideas? Feel free to defer this. There's someone else, but what are the top 3 ideas that your people have developed through, the British Airways session, for example?
The British Airways session, first credit card check-in, first beds in first class, and the first online check-in, and that's spread right across the globe.
Hi there.
Hi.
So I definitely used to have this problem with a small team prior to ChatGPT. And actually, in terms of idea generation, it's been a really, really useful tool for us as a way to generate, out-of-the-box thinking very quickly, and then be able to test it with my team and stress test it and go, have you taken your technique and then, narrowed them down into prompts and put them through ChatGPT, or others are available, and use that technique to be able to generate ideas outside of, a brainstorming session?
Yeah, have narrowed them down into a series of prompts, in fact narrowed them down into a series of questions. But unfortunately, ChatGPT really doesn't lend itself to this because the algorithms don't understand the system that we've just talked about. I've tried it and nonsense comes out, real garbage. It just isn't effective. I'd love to get access to the people who are writing the algorithms and hopefully create this someday, but we're quite a long way from this because contextual understanding is the key thing here. You can't create a direction unless you understand context, and you can't choose the appropriate method unless you understand the context. And AI is not really very good at understanding complex context yet.
Do you think you could use it for one or two of those stages though? So for example, the first stage, so finding items in the household, actually it could generate multiple so that you can have the things to input.
Absolutely. You could get raw data input from it, but I don't think we've got enough... The algorithms aren't very good at contextual understanding, particularly subtle, nuanced context, which is necessary for creativity.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir.
How do you build the continuity of innovation ideas?
Innovation.
If you look at PA as an example,
Yeah.
they failed, and they're failing now.
Yeah.
You built a very good platform, but it's actually the continuity of that in business that actually gives you the ability to be at the front, at the forefront of innovation.
You're absolutely right. Culture. This is a book about culture. Unless you create an innovative culture, you're going to have a short flash in the pan episode of idea generation, and then the culture will probably strangle most of those ideas to death. You probably know that famous quote by Peter Drucker, "Culture eats everything for breakfast." It's much more powerful than that. Culture wouldn't even consider strangling an idea as a snack, let alone a breakfast. I'd like to offer you something that might be quite useful. This book is about culture management. So any of you who are thinking of running an organisation, you need to know how to manage and understand culture. I'd like to give this book to someone so that they could manage a culture and create an innovative culture. It's not specifically about innovative cultures, it's about culture generally. But if you're going to create an innovative culture, you need to know what a culture is about. I'd like to give this book to someone who would like it. No, I'm obviously not communicating very, very clearly here. I'm having a problem with my communication skills today. Okay, I'd like to give this book to someone who would like this book. You could have it. It's worth £35 and it's free. No, I'm still not communicating very well. Is this microphone on, Stefano?
It is.
Okay, I'd like to give this book to somebody in order for them to understand culture. Who would like this book?
I would like this. Yes, please.
Okay, I'm still not doing very well, but maybe I'm facing in the wrong direction. Is that who would like this book? I'm trying to give somebody this book in order to... congratulations. Right. Okay, so what just happened there? Let me just tell you what happened there.
We've got just one question left, because otherwise we'll run out.
Sure, okay. Why does that lady have the book and you don't?
She took action.
She took action, and action is as rare as hen's teeth. Dozens of you had your hands up and only one person took action. And that's the key point about innovation. You can generate vast numbers of ideas, huge, wonderful, fantastic, brilliant ideas. But unless and until you take action, it's a waste of time. I'll finish on that note. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Very inspiring indeed.